What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get into this video, what I would like for you to do is a couple different things. Hit the subscribe button as usual. Hit the like button. And also share this video with all your friends and people who you believe will be interested in what I have to say. And then at the end, when you're finished, when you hear what I have to say, leave me a comment below. The topic I want to talk to you all today about is why some blacks don't want to eliminate white supremacy, but more so want to find their own personal comfort in it. This topic has come up quite a bit on Instagram when I break down different movies and TV shows and things like that that relate to black people and their presence in this media that is led by white people, specifically white supremacists. And the question that I often get from people, which seems kind of innocent, but I think that there's a certain mentality that comes with it, is what are some of the movies or TV shows that you actually like? Or what are some of the movies or TV shows that you watch or that you see? Which ones do you think put black people in a proper light or in a proper space where they're being portrayed and represented in a way that's positive? This sounds like an innocent question because it comes off like someone is just trying to get an answer to be able to understand where my mindset when I'm creating these different topics and these posts, where it's coming from. But there's an entire mentality behind why somebody would even ask a question like that. I think that when you're an individual who doesn't really understand white supremacy or how it works, or matter of fact, doesn't understand how black people have been affected in white supremacy, then you get to kind of nitpicking at things and missing the point. I have said this in other videos that I've done even on this channel, but I've also said on Instagram quite often too. A lot of folks, a lot of black folks, when they're looking at media, when they're looking at media images, when they're looking at depictions that are made of us, are not big picture thinkers. And that's come to our detriment. We need to think about the big picture, not the little small details and things we see in front of us. Now, the place where I was kind of confused on was whether or not when people asked me this question, was it a purposeful intent behind when they asked it, or was it something that was accidentally asked and it kind of just revealed something about the way that they think? A lot of times I think it's purposeful because it leads to a different mentality. So let me explain what I mean by that. People ask me that question mostly because they're trying to find their own personal comfort in white supremacy, not eliminate it. So in other words, what they want me to do is they want me to tell them about the outlier, the exception to the rule, the 1% all the way up to 10% of movies or shows or those types of things where black people are represented properly, where they can attach themselves to that. They want me to look at all of the different movies, all of the different shows, all the different media depictions, and show them which ones have put us in a light that is respectable and a light that's proper. And the problem I have with that mentality is that it creates complacency. It allows that person to believe that if there is one good media depiction that is out there in completion, meaning the entire TV show, the entire movie that portrays black people or some black aspect, then that means that there is something good that is happening. They want to know that we've come far. They want to know that we have progress. And what I'm here to tell folks, and I don't know how many times I have to say this, I say this so much until I'm blue in the face. No entire movie, no entire TV show, no entire video game, no entire concept on social media is, outside of maybe new black media, is 100% for proper black representation. What you have to do is look at the different depictions that you see and then find the pieces that represent us properly. Or you have to look at the way that certain black people are being portrayed and maybe reverse it. So in other words, maybe you have a villain who really was pro-black, but they made them a villain so that you didn't like or accept or desire to be like that individual because you see them as evil or a bad person or as somebody who you should not emulate, somebody who you should not be like a Killmonger, for example. Sometimes you have to look at some of these depictions and find the things that, the gems more so, that are going to put black people in a positive light instead of looking at an entire movie or TV show and saying that this has to be a positive movie. We have to get out of that mindset, because in white supremacist media, you are rarely going to find that. And if you do find an outlier, why is it that we have this mentality that the exception to the rule is going to eliminate all of the riffraff and all of the bad stuff that we see in media and all the things that portray us in a negative light? And I think that goes back once again to the mentality. People want to find complacency. They don't want to eliminate white supremacy. You eliminate that system, then yeah, you're going to see better depictions, especially if black people are running things, black people are creating and telling their own stories and those types of things, which is why I encourage divestment from white media, and which is why I encourage people to create their own thing and do their own thing. People don't really want to do that because that's hard work. It's hard work to go out there and say, hey, I want to take my money that I make, my hard-earned money that I'm making in these white spaces, and then put it into my own thing, create my own thing, and be independent, where people aren't making the rules for me. White people aren't doing that. And it's hard too to also implement this level of codification where you're not letting those same people into your spaces and working with them so that they can try to basically colonize even that space that you even created. A lot of people want the money. They want to sell out and live a life that's convenient and comfortable for them and maybe a few of theirs, but they don't want black unity as a whole. That's why I said they don't want to eliminate the system of white supremacy and replace it with a system of justice. They want to be able to find their own personal comfort in it. Now, we need to talk about where this mentality comes from. I personally believe this mentality comes from the civil rights generation, old Negro spirit that I've talked about before in the past. A lot of them gave into integration because they believed that it was better for them to be able to enjoy the intangible benefits of white supremacy, or the things that they can basically have as a instant gratification, versus trying to fight back and trying to fight for black people, like specifically their children, their descendants, to be able to flourish and have their own empires and things like that. So I think we're in that mentality because we've been taught to think like that. And I think these poisonous things, and I'll talk about this in another video, such as black excellence, that whole trope, and the whole black faces in high places thing, we see those as symbols of positivity when it comes to the black community, seeing black people in certain positions where we quote unquote did not see them before. The thing is that we've invented almost everything. We have innovated so many other things. We've done things that are phenomenal despite all of the oppression, despite all the things that have happened to us in all of the years that we've been alive, and our ancestors when they've been alive as well too. The reality is we don't understand that that actually is something to be proud of. But what we're not realizing is that what we've gotten to the point of doing is holding on to those things and saying that those concepts are what we should continue to see as black excellence. It's like we're holding on to history and not necessarily trying to create or trying to innovate something now in the present. We're trying to hold on to the idea that, oh, if we get into certain spaces, we get into political spaces, if we get into different jobs where black people aren't present, or where we become athletes in certain sports or certain different activities that we typically weren't seen in the past. We believe that those are these ideals that we need to embrace instead of embracing having our own businesses, instead of embracing having our own platforms, instead of embracing black unity. So in other words, unifying with black people who are like-minded. See, we don't necessarily have that mentality. We have a me mentality. How can I as an individual succeed and then say, hey, I found my comfort in white supremacy itself, instead of actually eliminating it. But you deplete it when you stop feeding into it. You know, that's the best way that you can go about trying to get rid of this level of complacency, is if you basically take the risk. It's really like anything. It's just like anything that you may do in business or anything that you may do in life. When you have certain goals you want to achieve, you have to take the risk in order to get different results. And so what people want when they ask me that question, what is it that you actually like? What they're trying to do is two things. One, they're trying to say, hey, how can I find this comfort to say, there's some good things that are happening, so it's outweighing the bad things, even if it's like 5% of the things that I see on TV. The second thing that you're really saying, the second thing that I think a lot of people are saying they really don't want to admit, is the fact that you're being negative. People love to put that moniker on me. So if it's not, I want to be able to find comfort in this system that I know is corrupt, the system that I know is bad, because there's no way that I'll ever be able to challenge it. The second thing that they say is, you're negative, and that's the problem. I don't like the way that you're thinking about this. You're thinking about this in a light where we're not able to really see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't like that mentality as well, too, because what it does is it tries to portray me as somewhat of a complainer. And I don't like that. And the reason why is because I'm not a complainer. Neely Fuller Jr. said this before. When you are a black person looking at the climate of white supremacy and what happens to other black people, you are not a complainer. You are a reporter. You're a reporter reporting on the climate of white supremacy itself. And that's exactly what I do. And so by saying that I'm being negative is basically saying that I'm not doing like you, and I'm not cool and complacent with this idea that I'm being subjugated, mistreated, disrespected by the images that are put out about me. And therefore, because I'm not doing what you do, that makes me negative because I'm calling those things out. And I'm actually creating effective solutions as well, too. So really what it's doing is tucking away a bigger issue with the individual who asked that question. And it's also at the same time not addressing how we can move forward and do positive things that are actually effective for black unity. Anyway, y'all, I know that was a little bit of a short video, but that's all I got for y'all on this topic. And there'll be more to come with this and other discussions that are similar. I hope y'all enjoyed what I had to say. Again, hit that subscribe button if you didn't, and if you enjoyed this content and want to see more. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.